assassination. You know what's interesting about assassination? Well, not only does it change those popularity polls in a big fucking hurry, but it's also interesting to notice who it is we assassinate. Do you ever notice who it is? Stop to think of who it is we kill. It's always people who've told us to live together in harmony and try to love one another. Jesus, Gandhi, Lincoln, John Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy, Martin Luther King, Medgar Evers, Malcolm X, John Lennon. They all said, try to live together peacefully. Bam!
You briefed the press, did you not, when you were there?
When we, the CIA, wanted to circulate disinformation on a particular issue, disinformation is not necessarily a lie, it may be a half-truth. And we would pick out a journalist. I would go do the briefing and hope that he would put the information in print.
The Central Intelligence Agency operates under National Security Council Memo 10-2, which says that it can engage in criminal activity, it can overthrow governments, it can control media as long as it's plausibly deniable. Once these agencies are imbued with this power over speech and it becomes embedded and mature, the entire administration and ebb and flow of elections comes under its heel.
How many times did I tell you the whole Sandy Hook lawsuit operation was run by the CIA and the FBI, and now it's all admitted?
Gavin O'Blennis is a contracting officer at the CIA. O'Blennis worked for the FBI in 2021 and 2022 in the San Diego office, moved on to Homeland Security where he conducted asylum interviews at the southern border, and now works for the CIA managing multi-million-dollar contracts across government agencies and private sector vendors.
We call it a nudge.
A nudge.
A nudge. Sometimes you just gotta give them a quick little, just to see what happens, right?
And how did that happen?
You put a post out there, or you have some fake profile say something that triggers, that they know is going to trigger them, right? Like we already know your history.
Like a big influencer that you're after.
You always want the biggest and loudest.
Alex Jones.
Yeah, so we were after him.
You are? Are you still after him? Why?
Because he's broke. He got found guilty and had to pay like $100 million.
So why were you after him?
We're not anymore.
Just to get the money from him?
Yeah.
Was that court case used? Was that a CIA?
Sure it was.
That was the agency thing?
Well, actually it was a defamation case. So it's a civil, not government. But we were looking at all of his followers on our purview. It's a civil matter. But since they got all this access to his stuff and it's there, what can we go find?
And did you find anything?
I can't tell you. Oh, we did. We don't encourage people, but like we just say there's no federal statute being broken, but you do have the option for a civil case, and it's a pretty good case.
Nice.
In our opinion.
So, that makes so much sense. I have a cousin who's a lawyer. Mm-hmm. So that's a lot of these cases. They're kind of encouraged by the FBI.
Yeah, like there's nothing federal law we can do, but civilly, we can go at them that way.
What the establishment engage in is lawfare, where they engage in legal complexity, opponents or dissidents in order to drain their resources.
The CIA's 1953 research budget allotted roughly $10 million to be dedicated to human experimentation involving hypnosis and amnesia, utilizing the effects of heroin, morphine, barbiturates, amphetamines, LSD, BZ, scopolamine, and other hallucination-causing compounds. Project Chatter was conducted in order to identify agents synthetic and natural that could enhance interrogation. Project Bluebird experimented with the possibility of using humans as mind-controlled warfare agents. CIA Director Alan Dulles was quoted as complaining that they did not have enough human guinea pigs to try these extraordinary techniques.
Seriously, is it tough being a junior?
I mean, sure, I wouldn't know, I don't have a basis of comparison.
There are the days you say, I wish my name were David.
No, I'm pretty happy with what it is.
David Keith Quigley is a name given to the real John Kennedy Jr. He stresses it was not a name that he asked for. Instead, it was a name given to him by federal agents after the death of his father, President John F. Kennedy. After the assassination of his father, David Keith Quigley, the real John Kennedy Jr., was placed in the Witness Protection Program, which brings clarity to the reason he is found under a different name. John Kennedy Jr.'s entire family was murdered. His mother, Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis, his stepfather, Aristotle Onassis, were killed in the year of 1975. Caroline Kennedy, his sister, is believed to have been murdered early in her life. Both his sister and mother were replaced by body doubles, as was he, who was known as John Kennedy Jr., was a body double as well and identified as such between knowing parties as John John. In the year of 1999, he died in a plane crash in the Atlantic Ocean. David Keith Quigley, the real John Kennedy Jr., personally saw the bloated, lifeless body after the crash. This information is taken from his book, Stolen Identity, Unveiling the Real John Kennedy Jr. The following is a small snippet from the book's introduction. Our government is a murder crime ring whose modus operandi is identity theft. That's how the mafia works. They are like hermit crabs, crawling into the shells of their deceased fellow beings to take over their identities, launder billions of dollars, and gain total control over humanity. All of these murders were committed to steal the fortunes of the Kennedy and Onassis families.
Are you still at this? Why?
Because he's broke.
Well, the obvious suspect would be the CIA. Why else would the agency withhold critical evidence from investigators? Is there a benign explanation for that, for maintaining this level of secrecy for this many years? Not that we're aware of. And it is illegal. In 1992, Congress passed the President John F. Kennedy Assassination Records Collection Act. That act mandated full disclosure of all documents by 2017, 54 years after JFK was killed. The last administration promised to comply fully with that law, but under intense pressure from CIA Director Mike Pompeo, withheld in the end thousands of pages of CIA documents. Today, this afternoon, the Biden administration did exactly the same thing. That would be thousands of pages of documents after nearly 60 years, after the death of every single person involved. But we still can't see them. Clearly, it's not to protect any person, they're all dead. It's to protect an institution. But why? Well, today we decided to find out. We spoke to someone who had access to these still hidden CIA documents, a person who was deeply familiar with what they contain. We asked this person directly, did the CIA have a hand in the murder of John F. Kennedy, an American president? And here's the reply we received verbatim. Quote, the answer is yes. I believe they were involved. It's a whole different country from what we thought it was. It's all fake.
Maybe the bad guys sent Bush on vacation the day they killed Kennedy to get him out of the way. Well, this document shows different. This FBI document records that on the day of the assassination at 1:45 p.m., 1 hour and 15 minutes after the shooting, Bush was already involved in trying to misdirect the FBI in their efforts to catch the killers. This document records that Mr. George Bush telephonically furnished the following: that he recalled hearing in recent weeks, the day and source unknown, that one James Parrott had been talking of killing the president when he comes to Houston. Date and source unknown? How could you not remember when or where you heard someone say that he was going to kill the president? It's little wonder, then, that this FBI agent took time from the busiest day of his career to record this screwy phone call. He wanted to be sure to record the name and occupation of this very suspicious caller. And we see, then, that Bush was not out of town on vacation. He had not been sent to babysit some penguins at the South Pole. He was actively involved in matters related to the assassination. And, out of his own mouth, he was in Dallas on the day that Kennedy was killed. When questioned about this FBI document, Bush said that he does not recall making the phone call. Now, wait 1 minute. Everyone in the country can tell you exactly where they were and what they were doing when Kennedy was killed. He was busy calling the FBI to misinform them But he doesn't remember? His failure to recall such dramatic events puts him into a unique club. Like Nixon and Hunt, he can't seem to remember the events of November 22, 1963. By itself, this claim of Bush's, that he cannot remember such a fabulously significant event in his life, with no other evidence, would be terribly incriminating. But this incredible memo does not stand by itself. It's only a small part of this mountain of evidence connecting Bush to every single aspect of the assassination: planning, execution, and cover-up. No one, not Connally, not Hunt, not Nixon, not Sturgis, not Prescott, not Dulles, no one on the planet could possibly have better credentials as a suspect in the murder of John F. Kennedy than George Herbert Walker Bush. The scale in this case is tipped past a certain critical point. The probability that he was involved is genuinely beyond a reasonable doubt. The Hoover memo is not circumstantial evidence. It is direct, eyewitness, smoking gun evidence from the most influential figure in the history of American law enforcement. The rest of the evidence merely provides a context for this memo that makes it impossible to reasonably believe that the former president was not involved in the murder of John Kennedy, acting as a frontline operative for
the military-industrial complex,
which Kennedy had asked the United Nations to help him destroy.
A steady reduction in force, both nuclear and conventional, until it has abolished all armies and all weapons.
The sign said the president is going to fall victim of a coup, and this will come from the CIA. In the 1970s, the mainstream media and publishing houses again played a major role in steering conspiracy theorists toward the CIA trail, while avoiding any hint of Israeli involvement. One major contributor to that effort was the Israeli-American Alan Weberman, a close associate to Jewish Defense Organization, with his 1975 book, Coup d'etat in America, The CIA and the Assassination of John F. Kennedy, co-authored by Michael Canfield. Weberman acknowledged Richard Pearl's assistance in his investigation. This book contributed to the momentum that led the House Select Committee on Assassinations to reinvestigate in 1976 the murders of JFK and Dr. Martin Luther King, with a special focus on the CIA and organized crime. This film, which shook public opinion to the point of motivating the President John F. Kennedy Assassination Records Collection Act of 1992, was produced by Arnon Milchan, described in a 2011 biography as being from his youth, quote, one of the most important covert agents that Israeli intelligence has ever fielded. Milchan was working in particular to boost Israel's nuclear program. In 2013, Milchan publicly revealed his extended activity as a secret agent of Israel. It is therefore no wonder that Stone's film gives no hint of the Mossad connection that Garrison had stumbled upon. All these examples demonstrate that the charges against the CIA have been the subject of considerable investment by authors who are predominantly Jewish and benefited from an effective echo chamber in the mainstream press. This is a typical strategy of Israel, occupying the ground of protest and creating a rigged debate excluding any reference to Israel. The contradiction of the official thesis is maintained focus on the CIA, the military-industrial complex, or any other 100% American organization by an elite of militants whose primary motivation is the preservation of the interest of the Jewish community. At every level of the conspiracy, we find the fingerprints of the Israeli deep state. Let's begin with the Dallas ambush. JFK's trip to Dallas had no official character and was sponsored by a powerful business group known as the Dallas Citizens Council. Kennedy was on his way to the reception organized in his honor when he was shot. The Dallas Citizens Council was a powerful group dominated by Jewish businessmen like the wealthy Julius Sheps, described by Brian Edward Stone in The Chosen Folks, Jews on the Frontiers of Texas as, quote, a member of every synagogue in the city and de facto leader of the Jewish community, end of quote. Abraham Zapruder, the man who filmed the assassination of John Kennedy and sold his film for $150,000 to Life magazine, was also a member of the Dallas Citizens Council. He was a clothing manufacturer whose headquarters happened to be located in the Dallas Textile Building, or Daltex, where one of the snipers' nests was located, according to JFK researchers who have studied the firing trajectories. Interviewed the same day on television, Zapruder could not hide his satisfaction. The host committee inviting Kennedy was chaired by another influential figure of the wealthy Jewish community in Dallas, advertising executive and PR man Sam Bloom. According to former British intelligence officer Colonel John Hugh Wilson, it was Bloom who, quote, suggested that the police make Oswald accessible to the press. He also suggested, against the explicit advice of the local FBI, that they move the alleged assassin from the Dallas police station to the Dallas County Jail in order to give the newsman a good story and pictures, end of quote. It was during this transfer that Oswald was shot by Ruby. Hugh Wilson also writes, when the police later searched Ruby's home, they found a slip of paper with Bloom's name, address, and telephone number on it.